Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Reality Skewed Gamers review. We were reviewing Asoka Season 1, Episode 8, and I love the title, the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. It's a play on words for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, all right, for you C.S. Lewis not readers out there. But welcome,
Narnia.
Narnia. But welcome to the show. We are going to be reviewing episode 8, and then we're going to give our thoughts on the season. So we're going to rate both the season finale and the overall thoughts on the season. Joining me, I'm your host Ranger, of course, and we've got Kate the Great. Hire me, she be me, my first mate.
Oh, what's that saying that you used to say?
Oh, you're part of our party crew. Har
Yeah,
be
well,
Kate the Great, me first mate. Har.
no, you had like a saying.
Oh, I've got my own title.
The
It's
world famous Kate Gaming.
And then no, we're not talking about my title. What was yours?
oh, mine's Admiral Commodore Redbeard Ranger of the Sweven Fleet of the Sweven Sea.
Yes, that was it. Uh-huh.
On the SMS Rangers rant. And then we've got the Whaling Cannoneer Karth and Captain Heisey's Hillbilly, and then we've got the Powder Keg Monkey Raw Officer Desi. We've got everybody got a piratey name.
Yep, except
Then,
for Thane.
yeah, Thane's not.
Thane doesn't have a
Well,
pirate
Ram has
name.
one, but it's just Samuel Jackson's Cabin Boy. That's all we came up with. So. I think it's something for Thane eventually. All right, moving past that. All right, let's get our overall thoughts. Kate, overall thoughts on the season finale. How'd you feel about the closing of the season 1 of Ahsoka?
I really enjoyed it, but I think I have more questions than answers.
I could probably help you with that. So, what questions do you have there, Kate? What's one the top of your
No,
head?
it's kind of more of just where they left we can get into it later, but
Okay.
it's more of where they left everything off at.
Yeah.
Not questions as to like what does this mean? It's more of like, okay, they're building a storyline into season 2.
Oh, we're
and it's
going to
leaving
talk
you with
about
more.
that. Yeah, because I saw
Yes,
some things
that's
at the end.
mine.
I'm just like, mm-hmm.
Yep,
I know what you're doing,
exactly.
Dave Filoni. Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yep,
yes.
exactly.
I see the path you have chosen, and I love it. All right,
Mhm.
Thane, your thoughts on the season finale?
It was very disappointing.
Of course it was. Kate loved it. That means you gotta hate it, man.
I didn't hate it. It was just disappointing.
Oh god, here we go. I can't deal with
Oh
you two
God.
every time, man. Every time you two. All right, we'll get into what's disappointing here. I didn't love it, but I really liked it. I mean, I thought it was really good. I thought
Mhm.
the some highlights for me. The fight choreography is next level in this show. The fight between Ahsoka and what's her butt name?
Morgan.
Morgan was phenomenal. That was
Yeah.
so
Oh
good.
yeah.
Just the fight scenes in general. I love they use the Night Sister magic for the zombified
Mm-hmm.
stormtroopers. That was so good. Um, the I love the opening scene. Is one of my favorite scenes where Ezra's building his new lightsaber, and they get talking about Kanan and all that stuff. I thought the opening was really awesome. Uh, I really love that. And another favorite scene of mine was just the reaction of when Ezra pops out of that ship at the end. Hera looks at him, and just you can see the emotion when she says, Ezra. You know, like they're just shocked. He's like, I'm home. You know, and
Yeah.
Chopper's reaction was the best. They're all in there with guns pointed, and here goes Chopper. You know, just walks up and like, hey, it's my buddy. You know, so those are some of the highlights for me. Kate, what highlights for you?
I mean, I absolutely loved the battle sequence between Ahsoka and Morgan, same as you did.
Using Mother
Um,
Talzin's sword. You like that shit?
oh yeah, I thought that was so cool. Wasn't exactly expecting them to kill her off, but I'm like, all right, not too
Someone had
disappointed
to
in
go,
that.
and I'm okay with
Yeah,
it.
somebody
Yep,
had to.
yep. I digged it.
I love how the villains came out victorious, essentially. Like, I don't think it could have ended any other way.
Yeah.
And that is so unlike typical Star Wars. Like, most, it's like the heroes win, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I am glad they didn't.
Well, if you've
So,
watched enough Dave Filoni stuff, he does this shit all the time. He answers stuff, and then you have unanswered questions still on this shit too. He did that all the time in Rebels, his recent show. Like you would get to
yeah.
like season 2 where you have this tremendous fight in the Sith Temple, and then Ahsoka, you know, we all these questions,
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god. It's
But
like,
it wouldn't have fit if
no.
Thrawn would have lost. Like
Mm-mm.
it just would have it wouldn't have worked for me. I would have been disappointed.
Yeah, I mean Thrawn, and it's very interesting that he went to Dathomir when they landed, because I thought they were going
Exactly.
back to
I'm
Meridian.
like,
I'm
we're
like,
opening up a whole can of worms
wanna
here with the Night Sister magic and
wow.
everything. I'm like, I look forward to that
All
because
those
I've
coffins
said
too.
I've said like the whole time I'm like I am fascinated by the Night Sister magic and I'm like, all right, it looks like we're going to be exploring a little bit more of that. So I am very happy.
Yeah, I mean, it was one thing for the stormtroopers, but to see those two death troopers just stomping Ezra
Oh,
Sabine's ass, and
yeah.
you saw one get his face mask kind of broken,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh snap! Oh, no wonder they're just taking hits like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it made stormtroopers scary because it's
Yeah.
like they're getting shot and cut, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna keep coming. You can keep shooting us. You have to really damage the hell out of us before we stop. And they were unrelenting. So I think that's what Thrawn's going to be doing with those thousands of caskets he had there. He's created an undead army, and I'm down for it.
Exactly. I'm
Uh,
like, I got real excited. I was like, wow, like they're pretty impressive too.
all
So
right, what about you, Thane?
I didn't have highlights for this episode, which is part of the issue.
All right, why did you hate it, Thane?
I didn't hate it. It was just a letdown. It was disappointing. You know, the biggest thing, and I've been saying this before we got into it, is like they need to make Thrawn, you know, menacing, and then, you know, they just didn't. They didn't handle Thrawn well. Then the ending of it almost makes it seem like Thrawn is not even going to be relevant. So it's just there's
It said it
I
set him
don't
up
I
have
don't
beautifully.
agree with that.
Like, yeah, go ahead, Kate.
No, he is menacing, but he's not menacing in the way you typically think of menacing, like a warrior type menacing. He's a tactful menacing. Like
yeah, but he keeps losing. That's my
He
he
didn't
issue. Is
didn't
that he
lose.
lose
just keeps
though.
losing.
He didn't
Yeah, he
lose.
did.
Everything went
No, he
according to the
didn't.
way he wanted it to go, man.
No, Ezra escaped.
Yeah, but he doesn't know
Oh my
that.
god.
Yeah, but
Exactly
but
my
Soak and
point.
Sabine were
That's
left
not
Exactly
behind.
my
that's not a
exactly my
loss.
point.
That's not a
You know,
loss.
just and then it's like I just can't. Yeah, he does. He's not. He wasn't handled well. He wasn't like
I totally disagree with
he's
that.
I
lost.
don't
You
agree
know,
with
he
that.
doesn't. There's nothing threatening about. I felt more threatened by Morgan this entire season than Thrawn. Thrawn is just. He's like, oh, we keep losing staff, we keep losing ships. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
And it's just
acceptable
he's just
losses. That's part of
yeah.
what
It's
makes him so goddamn terrifying is that
no, no, it does not.
yes, it does.
No, I see.
Oh
Like
my God.
at some point, like, look, listen, they've it's the show don't tell, right? It's like they keep telling us that he's this, but they don't show it. It's like John Wick. They told us what he was, and then he immediately backed it up. He has not backed it up. Going back all the way through
His
Rebels, he just
plan, man,
hasn't backed it
he's
up.
got the long-term strategy, and I guarantee you season 2, New Republic about to get his ass kicked because you know what he's going to do, and this is my thoughts. He's going to create some kind of undead army with the Night Sisters, and that pack's gonna be going. The Imperial Remnants is waiting for him to come. We
Oh,
saw
he's
that
gonna
in
take
They're not
over
going to get their
that.
ass kicked because we know what's going to happen already. Like we already know what's going to happen.
what's going to happen thing. I mean, you're the writer for Star Wars, so
There's
you tell
no
us what's
there's
going to
no
happen.
threats for the next 30 years until the first order shows up. So these guys are not gonna they're gonna be a
This
blip
is
in the
that's
radar.
totally bullshit because this is a new timeline where we don't know
Who
anything that
says it's a
happened
new
in there.
timeline? Hold on. Who said it was a new timeline?
This is we have the Legends book. We know what happens in those, but this is new charted
No.
territory
I'm talking
because
I'm talking about I'm
I'm
talking
talking about
about
this is new
episode.
canon. So they're
No, I'm
creating new
talking about
canon.
episode 7, 8, and 9. We
Oh, who
already
gives a
know that
shit
there was
about
no
those,
threat.
man? I'm talking about now. I'm talking about what's happening
Yeah,
now
but
in the
we
Star
already
Wars
know what
universe.
there was no threat. We already have books and canon stuff that set up that knows that there was no big threat once that Thrawn was defeated anyway. So it's like this all of this is for naught.
Well, I mean, it is not. We don't know what's going to transpire, and we don't know how it's going to play out. And maybe the New Republic wins, but at what cost, right? Maybe that's what makes them so weak that allows the First Order to rise. There's so much that we don't know what's going to happen. I can guarantee you, just like with anything, and it's a cycle that's been in the stories of Star Wars. If you've read all the Legends, and I have read all the Legends material, it's cycle, and that's one of the reasons Balin wanted to get out of there is and move on to something else to the beginning, as he says, because it's cyclical. An empire rises, the New Republic doesn't take it seriously. Trillions die, then they win because the Jedi and the Republic get their act together. Then there's peace for 1,000 years. Here comes the Sith Empire. They get their ass, throttled for a while. It's just the way it's always been. Now, I don't know how they're going to play it, but I guarantee you, Thrawn's going to be kicking some major ass, big
No,
time.
he's not.
All right,
No, he's
thing.
not.
You just don't bother watching season 2, man. Seriously. Oh my god, dude. I feel bad thing because I wish you could feel what I feel, and you don't, and it sucks. All right.
Well, that's because they didn't make me feel that. I want to feel the way you did too, but they
No, it's
completely,
objective.
did
I
it.
don't have any problem the way you feel. You feel the way you want, brother. You didn't like it, and I get it, and it's totally fine. I just wish you know, felt like I do, so that's all. That's all I'm
I'm
saying.
staying out of this.
Yeah. Well, it's the way it is. Well, all right. So, we did have a cool highlight. Two things that were really cool at the end. Anakin making an appearance as a Force Ghost. I was like, hell yes, baby, let's go. That was an
And he's
awesome
in
scene.
the redemption outfit.
Yes, he's in his Jedi robes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I'm interested to see what they do with Anakin moving forward. And then
They
Bale.
already hinted at it because of Balin's what Balin was going to look for.
Yeah, but Balin doesn't know what he's looking for. He just knows that there's something calling to him. And that scene, because you guys don't know this in the lore, the Night Sisters, they didn't worship the father, but they worshiped the daughter and the son, who would in the lore would always come forward, and they saw him and they started worshiping them as gods, but not really the father. So it was interesting to see that the father was there. What I think they're doing is they're creating this planet to be the original home. It was a different place in the lore, but the father and the daughter and the brother are celestials. And I don't remember if Abeloth, and this is what I'm leading to, Abeloth was, I don't know if she was a celestial that was not chosen or she was immortal, but she became a part of the family. But the problem is they're immortal. She's not. And they are in charge of the dark side, balance, the light side, the fount of knowledge, the fount of power. That's where they gain all their power from. Well, and before she died, she drank of it. She's not supposed to, and she became Abeloth. And you don't know who Abeloth is. She's one of the most terrifying force deities that has ever existed. I think that's what they're leading to. But I don't know the roles that Balin, if you look at it, Balin kind of represents maybe the son. We know Ahsoka's the daughter because we even saw the embodiment of what she took after she gave her life for Ahsoka. I think Anakin, especially being in the world between worlds, he represents the father. Like he's the balance. And I think yes, Thrawn is going to be badass, but I think what they're setting up with this is they're setting up that there's an even bigger threat. They even mentioned it in the show that they're trying to get the hell out of there because that's a planet of nightmares and dreams, right? And death. That's what Abeloth was known for. She was called the god of chaos. And that's one of the things that she was known for is the visions and things of that nature. So season 2, man, it's got me hyped on that. That scene with Balin on top of the father's statue, with the handout and stuff, it really got me going. I thought those were two really awesome scenes.
Yeah, see, I kind of I interpreted it like that, but a little bit differently.
How did you
So,
interpret it?
obviously, they're called the Mortis gods, right? They were
Yeah,
highlighted
they're
in Clone
celestials.
Wars
Yeah,
as the father who was like the balance, the son who leaned more towards the dark side, and the daughter was the light side. Um, I think it plays back to that a little bit because that during those couple episodes in Clone Wars, it really highlighted on Anakin being the chosen one. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that in season 2, and that's might be part of the reason why Anakin is appearing so often,
yeah,
kind of hinting at that. And yes, I think he has something to do with the father. Ahsoka represents the daughter, and then the son, I guess, is up for debate. I don't I don't know if I would consider Balin the son because I don't think he is dark side enough for that.
Yeah, he's definitely not. Now Shin
So I
is.
don't. Shin might be that, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
think it's going to play on that a little bit more about like the prophecy with the chosen one.
bring balance to the force because
Yeah,
that's what he
and like
represents. That's what
I
the
kind
father
of
wanted
noticed
him.
like the daughter statue was like it was a little destroyed.
Yeah,
So I'm like wondering if that means like it's a little bit off balance
could be. It was.
and it's
It
going to
was.
play into that.
Yeah, that's just that one shot, and then him looking out and that ethereal, eerie kind of look to the planet. I was like, they're doing Abeloth, man, because I know Filoni, man. He loves pulling shit. He's really trying to make legend stuff, canon now, since it was
Mhm.
made not canon. So, and the if you've not read the Abeloth saga, oh my,
I haven't.
oh my God, Kate, so good, man. She's so powerful in the Force that she can cause any Force user. She can manipulate them to where they just wake up one day and then they look at everybody, people that they love, friends, family, and regardless, they think they're imposters. And not only do they think they're imposters, they have to kill those. So
Oh
you had
wow.
yeah, that's the kind of power she had with her stuff. I was a little disappointed. I will say that we didn't get a lot of Balin stuff. We just had
I was too. Yeah.
and Shin too. I wanted to see a little bit more with that, but I think they're setting that up for season 2, and I'm okay with that because you're going to have 2 story arcs. You got now that Ezra's back, he's going to be able to prove that Thrawn is back and everything and what's going on. And but we know the New Republic's going to just take a sweet ass time. Thrawn's going to start stomping that ass. But they've left a lot of story for this Night Sister world, and why were they fleeing? Why were they in hibernation? What were they running from? I. It's not going to be. We already know the father's dead, and we already know. I don't know what happened to the son. I think he's still alive, but I know the
The
daughter
son's
gave
still
her.
alive. He's the only one that's
This
alive.
Yeah,
yeah, the daughter died
the father
when
died and
she
the
gave her
daughter
life
died,
to
right?
Asoka and the father died, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of that thing? That my theory of that they're definitely leaning toward Abeloth here as like the big baddie. It's not Thrawn. They're doing a bait and switch. Thrawn's nasty, but there
That's
there's something
that's
worse out there.
that's why it's such a disappointment because it's like, okay, like you've been building up Thrawn now, and then it's like, okay, you're gonna bring Abeloth. Now I don't care if they bring in Abeloth, but not at the cost of like Thrawn. They shouldn't One shouldn't be the cost of the other. So that's one
Long
of the
term, like think
the
series, like shows, like long term future stuff. They may not bring
that's
Abeloth in yet, but like it's the future. We'll deal with all the
that
Thrawn stuff, but because he's supposed to be the next, Thanos in this, but for
yeah,
future,
that's fine. But then again, it's like they're now Filoni's breaking canon a lot, like by bringing this stuff because we know that in 30 years the New Republic has demilitarized, and there's really not Luke has been going around just collecting like Sith relics and stuff and doing his academy and stuff. So now it's like if you have these you know all these events adding up in between, it's kind of like, it cheapens everything else. It cheapens like the new trilogy, it cheapens the sequel trilogy, and again,
I hope they change
I
the
don't, I
sequel
don't.
trilogy. My God, let's get a new timeline. Good God in heaven, man. I would love
Well,
that, man.
however you feel about that, like I said, in a couple of years, the people who grew up with the sequel trilogy are
Oh
going to be
yeah, if
very
they love it,
vocal
they
and
love
are
Oh,
it.
going to be,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, and they're going to have their own opinion. Just how the original trilogy fans were saying that the prequel should not exist, and then they're shitting on all this stuff, and the sequel trilogy, they're there. They're not going to go anywhere. They need to
Oh, I
respect
know,
sequel
I know.
trilogies because. That we're gonna have a whole fan base that grew up with that stuff that is gonna be demanding content for that stuff. So they can't just come here and say like, oh well, none of that stuff is irrelevant. So they need to be very careful about what water they're treading because when Lucasfilm first bought when Disney first bought Lucasfilm, they were trying to ignore the prequels. The prequel fans had to come out here and demand prequel content. Now we got prequel content. Now all of a sudden, we're hearing all this come from people talking about getting rid of the sequel trilogy. Well, it's like guess what? About 5 to 10 years, we're gonna get a lot of pissed off fans who are like, "Where the hell is my sequel trilogy stuff?" So they need
Well,
to be very careful about what they're doing and how they're building this roar and what they're going to
the bigger
sacrifice. And to answer your question, Abeloth, overshadowing Thrawn, and now we're building another villain and stuff. That's the thing. It shouldn't have happened this way. It should just been focused on Thrawn. If they wanted to build this stuff later, it's like fine, do it later. But now all of a sudden it's like okay, now we have it's because now all of a sudden Abeloth is Thanos, and then Thrawn is Loki. Like I don't want Thrawn to be Loki. Thrawn should be.
They're just
He should
different
be some.
villains, different
No, but I mean
things.
that's the way that it looks. It feels now. It feels like oh yeah,
No,
we had Loki as a villain,
no, I
and now
disagree.
but we're building to Abeloth. It
I'll
cheapens
give you
Thrawn.
no,
That's
it
the
doesn't. And I'm
problem.
going to give you an
Yes, it
example.
does.
No, it doesn't. Be quiet.
Yes, it does.
I'll give you an example. Darth Revan, and you had Vitiate.
Man, screw Darth Revan, but like, we're talking about
Hold
this one right
on, man. Jesus Christ. Revan was manipulated by Vitiate. All right. If you know the story of Darth Revan, all right, manipulated everything. Vitiate was, why he's one of the most powerful Sith Lords that ever existed. All right. And on top of that, he's creating another fucking empire with the Eternal Throne Empire. But that didn't stop what Revan did. Revan went genocidal. He basically kicked the shit out of the Mandalorians so bad that they became little sub packs and stuff. That's how bad he kicked their ass. On top of that, then he went after the Jedi and the New Republic after the Mandalorian War. So all that's going on with Revan. That doesn't stop any badassery that Revan's doing, even though Vitiate kind of was pulling the strings on everything. Vitiate was the bigger threat, but he's in the background manipulating shit, right? He's not direct confrontation. Let Revan go in there and kick that shit out of the New Republic and the Jedi and the Mandalorians and all this stuff. So it doesn't take away from what Revan did and how badass Revan was. It just was different. Vitiate's in the background. This is the same thing we're doing for Abeloth, as they're doing. Thrawn will be the Revan version. He'll go through and do the same shit like Revan did and cause terror and stuff throughout the galaxy. But that's something if Abeloth does become a part of that, she wants. She wants chaos. She wants anarchy. That's what she does. So it's just a different evil that's going to have to be dealt with. But I don't think you take away from Thrawn, just like you
No,
don't
it
take away
does.
from
It
Darth Revan.
100%. You
I
can
also
cut
don't
it.
think I don't think Abeloth will even be in like season 2.
I don't think so either. I
Because
think they're
Balin
just setting it up for
doesn't,
the
like you
future.
said, Balin doesn't know what he's looking at really.
Yeah,
He
there'll be
doesn't really know
something
what
that they
he's
come
looking
in,
for.
yeah, something later. But it
Yeah.
is cool because I love Abeloth. I think she's one of the most she's the most vile villain ever in Star Wars. I mean, the Vong in the Legends books and Abeloth are two of my favorite baddies that they ever did in the Legends stuff. For a hot minute there, I thought maybe the Vong are hanging around in this galaxy and that's how they get thrown in there. I thought that might have been it, but they're going
Well, no, the
more.
Vong they're doing it in the High Republic.
You think so?
It's already confirmed. That's what they're
I know
doing.
that
They're
there's been
called
comparisons, but I mean the
no, that yeah, it's basically them. It's the Griff.
I haven't really done much of the High Republic to be
It's really
honest.
good. Honestly, a lot of the best stuff from Star Wars is coming from the High Republic right now.
I've heard that. I just haven't had time for it because we've been doing this and games and other stuff
So
right
if
now.
Thane
So
likes it, that means I probably won't.
yeah, that's the way you two are.
Probably.
It's kind of like Ranger's the father, I'm the daughter, and
Shit,
Thane's the
to Dark Side Thane and Light Side Kate, and I'm always in the goddamn middle.
son.
God Almighty!
For real.
I am the Bendo to Arkin, or sorry, God, this is horrible. All right, so I like the season finale. I'm going to give it. I didn't love it, but there was a lot that I did like, and especially the lore stuff they set up here was really fantastic. I love the stuff the Night
Yeah, we haven't even
Sisters.
talked about the episode. Hold on.
Yeah,
I
you're
wonder
gonna get
why.
us to
Yeah, you
Well,
just jumped to like what's happening next. That's probably a bad sign that
Yeah.
we haven't talked about the episode.
well, I mean, I've done different stuff. Where do you stuff you guys liked in the episode? I'm not going to break down the whole episode like I usually do because we still have to cover the entire season still of like rating that too. So, but just general thoughts, but specific things you liked about the episode, Kate. Anything that didn't work for you, just overall, the story arc and stuff like that.
I mean, I like where everything's heading. I like that Thrawn is back. I like that Ezra is back and that he's actually with Hera, which I didn't know that would actually happen.
I didn't either. That was a
I
surprise.
yeah, I really hope they recast Balin.
That is
Because
sad, you know.
I think his story could be really incredible. Um, and it's no disrespect at all to, well, Ray Stevens, was that his
Ray
name?
Stevenson, yeah.
Yeah, no disrespect to him at all because he did a phenomenal job, and I think it would only be right to continue that story because there's just so much potential there with Balin's story. And I think a lot of us want to know more about it. And then they left off Shin, and it'll be interesting to see where she goes. And then I'm like, all right, Asoka and Sabine, it's like, okay, they're eventually gonna have to get off of this planet. So how are we gonna do that? But also it's like you're meant to be here. Okay, like what do they gotta do here? So I'm excited to see how everything plays out.
Yeah.
Things that I didn't like.
Or it didn't work for you. Maybe didn't, not that you didn't like it, but maybe it's just like, eh.
There wasn't too much in this episode that I didn't like. The last week's episode I didn't really care for.
Yeah.
But
Which
this
is
week's,
crazy because Thane loved last week's
oh
episode.
yeah, exactly.
You guys are
It always
killing me.
happens that way. But I mean, I really liked the fight sequence between Morgan and Ahsoka. I thought that was just so well done.
Yeah,
And
it was
then
really good.
to
Just the
have,
fight scenes in general in this show have been
oh,
phenomenal. The way they
well, and then
shot
this
him, oh
week
my
with
god.
the resurrected stormtroopers,
Yeah, that was
I thought
cool.
that was so cool. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they just
no.
kept coming, man. They were unrelenting,
And
dude.
I was like, where are these stormtroopers in the rest of the Star Wars universe? They're like holding it together a lot better than they normally do.
You know, you
So,
imagine brigades of those on the front line in
oh,
the upcoming
nasty.
war. It's one
Yeah,
thing for Ahsoka and the Jedi, which there are no longer that many Jedi in the galaxy. So New Republic's got their hands full. They got some
yeah,
big problems. If Thrawn is going to create an undead army that could just ignore pain and ignore wounds and stuff like that, man, that's going to be something they're going to have to deal with hardcore. And I don't know how they're
yeah,
going to feel bad for the New Republic dealing with that. Because when I saw those coffins in that scene, I'm like, he's going to Dathomir because that's why he's going to Dathomir, to resurrect all these guys for this incredibly destructive army that, yeah, he's got his other forces, but why send those guys in when you can send in all these death troopers or night brother, troopers that, perfect soldier. They do what you tell them to do. They don't care about pain. They'll go to the objective and keep fighting until every part of them falls off. That's really horrifying if you think about it. Was there anything that you liked about this episode thing? Like, was there any good
Yeah, I
stuff?
mean, yeah, I mean, the stuff didn't like necessarily stand out, but yeah, there was some good stuff. I mean,
Give me a
I
couple.
disagree. I still disagree with you guys. I don't like the Disney era lightsaber battles, but the as far as good stuff, the interactions between characters were good. Ahsoka's character arc in this season has been really, really good. I feel like that this specific episode in particular really highlighted that. The ending of her arc and her coming full circle with who she like coming to terms with who she is and what her legacy is, and fully embracing her Padawan, and in return her Padawan embracing her,
Yeah,
by saying like, hey, like she felt that, like, when Ahsoka said, like, my master like stood by me when no one else would, so no matter what happens, I'm gonna stand next to you, like. And then you see her, like, she could have made the choice to go back with Ezra, who, that's all she could think about for the last 15 years is,
yep.
be reunited with Ezra. And she let him go to be by her master's side. So, I think it was because Ahsoka showed that, like, compassion, and that's, that understanding to her, that, she was able to kind of, like, develop Sabine further as well. So, by the way, have you guys noticed that the lightsaber that Sabine has she actually modified it, so it's not the original design that Ezra had. She actually put some like a spin to it herself. Because I was looking
Well,
at the
yeah, remember
lightsaber a little more.
they said that in episode one. Remember when Hu Yang
Yeah,
was
so
talking with
it's
her? It's like it was his, but you modified it and changed it and added
yeah.
stuff. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's so yeah, so I was so now I'm even more proud that you know she that Ezra didn't take that lightsaber, because I think he might have probably recognized that she had also modified it. So it's like, no, this is yours now. So
Yeah,
you know,
he gave it to
I'm
her.
glad with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And I like that he created. That was such a really good scene. I think both those scenes of the with Hugh Hang and Ezra and Sabine talking about Kanan and all that stuff, and then Sabine, what she said, what you just mentioned was really good. And yeah, it came full arc. I really, and I like that Sabine finally was able to use the Force, but she
Yeah,
had to
I'm
go
not.
through this whole thing, and it was a life and death moment where, and I think the conversation that she had with with Asoka, those walls are down. The conversation they have. She's like, train your mind, train your body, trust in let go. It's basically what she's saying. Be the best you can,
And
and
I think
trust in the
I think that
force.
was like the biggest thing for her as well, because it's like, you know, for someone like Sabine, she's an artist, right? Like she doesn't learn by, you know, rigid rules. She's not like, you know, quote unquote a math person, right? Like she's not gonna sit there and follow rules and do X, Y, Z. You know, she's, you know, a little more go with the flow kind of a thing. She's a little more expressive. So, you know, Ahsoka actually being able, you know, through this season, we were actually able to see her, you know, become the master that she, you know, because you know we always make that comparison of like, oh, Ahsoka the White, but what does that mean, right? Like, what does her becoming Ahsoka the White mean? You know, and I think that the big thing about her is leaving that. You know, I think that that's why Anakin kept calling her Snips, because it's like you're still a child, like you're still acting like a child. You know, you're still being the apprentice. You
I
know,
got one more
and
lesson
then
for
you
you.
need to be, yeah, it's like you need to be the master. You know, and now it's like, you know, she's kind of come to that own. She knows that she needs, she had, there's that Sabine has specific requirements or specific ways to learn, and she's able to kind of, you know, bring that out of her. And yeah, like, you know, obviously the life and death situation and stuff like that, but you know, it's, you know, leading up to that moment, like Ahsoka was able to kind of guide her a little bit more. You know, because when you see her training her with the lightsaber, you can see her that she's like trying to force her to learn the way that like younglings and like everybody else learns. But it's like that's she's an artist. That's not how she's gonna learn. Like, yeah, she's Mandalorian, but she's also an artist, so she's also very expressive. So she has her own way of doing things. So I'm glad that like Ahsoka's able to learn that and be like, okay, how else can I do this? And you know, giving her that level of trust, you know, to, you know, for her, and saying like, hey, you know, trust in the
I
force,
got you.
you got this. You know, like, you know, have you been trying? And she's like, yeah, I have, you know. And it's like, you know, you just, you know, you don't see her criticizing her. Like before, there was a lot of like, you know, judgmental
Yeah,
energy coming from Ahsoka, whereas now it's very supportive, very like, okay, yeah, I see you, I got you, you
yeah, more
know.
accepting. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
And so yeah, so a lot of the character moments have were great, right? Just lore wise and narrative wise, where I have you know, an issue with and how they handled the villains. Like I absolutely hate that they killed off Morgan out, you know, Morgan, because she was, you know, the most fascinating character of the show for me. You know, so it's like they killed her off, and I'm just
Oh,
are
she'll
you
be back.
serious? Like,
She's a night witch now. She's had that touch of
I mean,
you know.
sure, but I wanted her back with Braun. I didn't want her back
She'll
in
be
this,
I'm
back,
sure
you know,
brother.
she'll find
godforsaken.
She's
they're
gonna
at
come.
Dathomir. They're gonna figure something out.
Yeah, the planet of
No, she
death.
didn't. She
Yeah.
no, she didn't go. She didn't go back with them. Her
She
body's
No, her
still.
body's still there.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But
it's still there, but
Yeah.
I'm sure they
trust
will
me,
figure something out.
something
No, I
nasty.
don't know. I hope not. She was cool as she was. Like I
If they don't, I'm fine
don't.
with it too. But if they did bring her back, she would be one of the few
It,
reasons. If she came back, I'd be like, yeah, it's Night Sister shit. That makes
yeah.
total sense. You know what I'm saying?
What I
So
am curious though, like going back to like the only bit of like lore stuff that got me a little interested was um there's a lot of connections between this show lore wise and the Jedi games, Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order. There's because they showed like a lot of the statues and stuff are actually Zepho, which is like a species that is very prominent in those games. And one of the things that I saw was that something something that was like written in one of those temples was a name of a Zepho, dark side user that isn't like his tomb is in Dathomir that we go visit in that game, and they're going to Dathomir right now. So I'm very curious to see if they're going to tie the game in at all with this,
I would
timeline
love if they did. I think that
because
would
yeah,
be
we don't
awesome. Get an older
because we don't
Jedi
know what
Cal coming
happened
in, man. That would be live action Jedi Cal coming in to save the day, man. That would be
that
sick as shit, dude.
That'd be pretty cool to tie it all
Especially with
together.
Marin and their relationship
yeah,
and with the Night Sisters. Oh my god. Because you would
if
have
they
two
bring
factions
Marin,
of the Night Sisters, right?
That'd be pretty
yeah,
cool.
if they bring Marin in, that would that I don't see how Thrawn doesn't get his ass whooped.
I would love to
I
have
would love that
Marin.
because the faction of the Night Sisters that Marin represents and what she represents is totally different than the Night Sisters that
Mhm.
Thrawn's dealing with. I think that would be great,
That
good
would be
conflict.
amazing.
Older
Yeah,
Marin, older Cal coming in to, help, they return.
yeah, because
That would
depending
be
on how where
great.
this timeline falls, we already know that the next game they're already working on the next game, so we could potentially wrap up his storyline in the next game here soon, and then he makes the jump to live action thereafter. But
I would love it, man.
That would be pretty cool.
The one thing I would say about this series is that it is really opened up the world building for Star Wars, right? We now have Night Sisters that we're seeing in live action, and we're mentioning the Celestials, and then we're talking about all
oh,
this stuff. And I love this show for doing that because
I,
we've been
I,
so bogged down with the Mandalorians and other stuff in this series or another series, which I love. But I mean, they're really starting to expand the universe,
so
literally.
I remember what I was gonna say. Sorry. So another reason why this is interesting as well is because they've kind of established like very passively that this is kind of like the birthplace of like force users, and we know that there's a movie about the origins of force
Oh yeah,
users in
yeah.
production right now. So I do wonder if we're gonna see like what the hell happened here, like back then, because they've kind of softly, because in the Jedi games they've established the Zepho as like, kind of like the original Force users, for light side. Well, in general, right? And then there was some that got corrupted and stuff. But then obviously the Night Sisters also come from this area, which use the Force in a very unique way. So it almost seems like all Force users came from this one area. And
Possibly what they're doing. It's going to be interesting how they tie it into the legend lore because Filoni and them like to do that stuff. Because originally the Celestials actually created parts of the galaxy like Corellia and stuff like that. Then there's a bunch of stuff that goes on, but eventually it leads to the Jedi. And the Jedi come together, all these races and species to become on Tython. And they had a different view of the Force. Um, but they weren't the only force using race that came about, right? You had the Rakata, who were very, very evil, that actually threw down the Celestials. You had other races. You had the Mortis gods. You've got a lot of different factions that use the Force. That kind of, it would be interesting to see. I don't know if the Zepho were the originators, or if they're going to go with that. They will be one of the byproducts, whatever the beginning is with the Force.
Yeah, at least it's just speculation. Like, we're
No, it's
going
good
headcanon here,
speculation.
but
It's interesting.
but
It's
the
interesting thought
well, no,
process.
I meant so I think that the Mortis gods, because they refer to them as gods, right? There's no one else that's ever been referred to as gods. So I feel that they were like quote unquote the original Force users, and then the Zepho and Night Sisters kind of like learned from them. Obviously, it's different from Legends because they had like the Jedi and the Sith, but the Zepho, because like in the Jedi's like Fallen Order game, we follow like the story of the original Zepho who like fell to the dark side, and his tomb is in Dathomir, right? So it's
It'll be interesting. Yeah, but I love that
so
we can
that's
explore this because we've now got this as part of these planets and stuff that we can now get into. So, all right. So, anything else you guys want to talk about this episode? I'm going to give it a rating out of Chopos, out of Choppa. Let's go
I
with it.
hope we see Chopper more next
I
season.
love Chopper so much. Man, he's my favorite. The murder droid of murder droids.
Yeah.
So good. All right, Thing. What are you giving it a rating on this? The season finale of Asoka.
uh I give it a solid 2.75.
2.75. Okay. Kate the Gate. Kate the Great. Not the Gate. What are you rating this? She's a chain link fence.
I'm gonna give it 4.25.
Okay, and I'm a 4. It was good, but it didn't blow me away. But the lore stuff really, and I think the character moments, things of that, it was really good. That being said, the series overall, Kate, you've had time to process it. We've got the full season of Ahsoka. What are you going to rate Ahsoka out of 5 chapas, the entire season?
I would give it 4.
All right. And I will echo that sentiment. I give it a 4.25. There's just so much good stuff here. It's led to so many good potential stuff. And I'm excited for season 2, and there were some really awesome moments. I mean, we haven't had water cooler moments from a show in a while, and we had definitely 2 in I think episode 5 and 6. Um,
I'm
man,
so glad like Hayden
oh
Christensen
my
is
God, I'm
getting the
so
love
happy
he
for.
deserves.
Oh
Like
my
that, I
God,
think
he's killing it, man.
the episodes with him have been probably my favorite episodes. Like that
Just,
for me has been probably the best part of the season. The worst part of the season for me is I'm just not a huge fan of Sabine being a Jedi.
that's
That's
okay.
just
That's all right.
she I feel like they should have just kept her as like just a Mandalorian going that route.
Well, it's
But
interesting because we got
eh,
her and Grogu that are both Jedi trained and now Mandalorian trained. So does that lead to something? That's the thing I was thinking about with
yeah,
that, because Grogu much more powerful in the Force, but he doesn't have the Mandalorian training that Sabine does. She's
they're like
flipped.
opposites, yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that, like if she ever gets back to the known galaxy, now that Mandalore has been re-established, gonna run into baby Grogu and see what happens.
Maybe.
I think that would be kind of. I think that would be fun to see this new faction of the Mandalorian, because there was a Mandalorian. That's where the dark saber comes from.
Yeah.
Mandalorians in the past have been Jedi and such. So I think if they could create a new order for the Mandalorians like that, that would be pretty dope in my opinion.
That would be. It's just I mean for me, I'm just not a huge fan of
Sabine
Sabine
specifically,
being
that works.
yeah.
That's fine. All right, Thane, what do you got for me, buddy?
I feel like it'd be unfair for me to give it just one score, so I want to give it 2 scores if that's okay.
Oh jeez.
Um,
That'd be different.
well, no, it's because I feel it'd be. I can't just give it 1 score. It's like if I were to give it just like a 1 score,
What
I
are the
would
two
like.
scales?
Well, the one would be like if I were to give it an overall,
Is it that
score,
what
which
we're
would be like
doing?
a
Yeah.
3. But no, I don't like that score though, because if I just focus on like the character development and the arcs that in the dialogue of the characters in the season, then I would give it a 4. But like it's like they did a good job with the characters, but the overall package is just messy.
So, what do you want to give it? Just give a general score. How you feel? You can always change your mind. Thing, that's
I
the
guess
thing.
it would be a 3.5. I had to like average it
I was
out.
about to say, like,
Yeah,
if you
that
had a
seems
3 and
about
a
right.
4,
That seems about right.
3.5.
Yeah, three point
Yeah.
five. So, you liked it not as much as us, but you still thought it was a positive show. Good stuff that you liked more than the bad stuff. That's what
It
it
didn't
sounds like.
hype me up, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's okay. Um.
And this is why Thane is the sun.
I mean,
Oh God.
my name has ray of light in it, so yeah.
You're definitely not the ray of light. Dark side, son of mine. Oh God. You might need to find an Abeloth. She was the one
maybe
that
I'm
actually
maybe I'm
controlled
a
him.
death maybe I'm a Dathomirian son. I don't know.
Oh my God. You turn him into Savage Oppressed 2.0. Here we go. All right. Well, I've really enjoyed doing these with you guys. We'll do some more of these. I don't think we got dates on any new stuff coming out for Star Wars, but if there's any new shows announced, I'll get with these two and we'll do some more reviews. I do know the Acolyte's around the corner. I know Andor's back in production, so we'll get Andor season 2, and I phenomenally
Gotta
loved it.
finish season 1.
Oh, you've got to, Kate. Two of the best speeches I've
Uh,
ever heard in Star Wars. It's
I
from Andor.
tried like I think 3 episodes of it. I just can't get into
Just
it.
promise me you'll watch it. I'm telling you, Kate, you're just going to
I'll
be.
give it a try, but
And,
like I said, if
and
Dane loves it, I'm probably
yeah,
I love
Andor
it.
not.
Andor
I
spoiled me.
love
Yeah,
it.
like
I love it to death. Kate, so if you don't want to listen to the thing,
I
listen to
know.
me.
Yeah, but that's why you're the father. You keep the balance. Me
That's
and
right.
Thane are just opposites.
yeah,
So
like Andor is great. It spoils me. It's like one of my best pieces of television. Like period. Not even
so
Star
good,
Wars,
man.
But did
but
you
it's
think that
yeah.
from like episode 1, or did it take a while to get into?
It's a slow burn. It's like a
It well,
prize fight. It's like the episode, like the first 2 episodes are always like they're setting everything up like a fighter. I'm setting you up, and then the third episode in these arcs are haymaker. You're like, holy God. The first three
yeah.
set up everything, but I'm telling you, the next 2 arcs after that and the final arc, Kate, I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. That's why it's got
Yeah, the show is set up in like 3 episode arcs. So like the first three are kind of telling the like a specific introductory, and then the next ones are telling a different story. So you
it's
kind
so
of have
good.
to, yeah, I would say like the first three ones is, because they released the first 2 episodes for a reason, because like it is a bit of a slower, it's more of a drama and a little less of an action, like something like Mando or Ahsoka, but yeah, as far as like that show just has brilliant storytelling, and it's amazing.
I'll give it a try.
I'll tell you
Like I've
what,
been
Kate.
saying it for months, but
Kate, if
I'm
you
gonna
want
try.
every week, if you want to watch it, not the whole thing, but if you want to watch like a couple of each arc, right?
Hmm.
If you want to do each arc, I'll do a review with like just Kate Gaming because I've already done my review for the show.
I'll do
Uh,
it. I was here.
so if you guys want, we can do next week if that works for you, Kate. Uh, Kate's
Probably not next week.
so 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, so 2 weeks we'll do that where you watch the first 3 episodes and then we'll stop. Then you watch the next 3 episodes, stop, and then we'll do a review of each of those, and then you can tell us your thoughts through the whole series.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do that in 2 weeks. So let us know in the comments what you guys think. Be civil, be fair. If someone doesn't have the same opinion as you, that's tough titty, said the kitty. It's just, but you can disagree, but be nice. I'm not putting up with any comments of attacking people. If you have a point why you love something, say why you love it. If you don't love it, like if you hated Ahsoka, fine, put that in the comments, but say why. And I hate Ahsoka. Rangers as an ass clown doesn't work for me. Okay, so don't do that. I will just delete your message. All right. But if you have good points, make them. Let us know in the comments what you think. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe. It's on YouTube. It does help us get this content out to everybody else. So with that, we'll see you in 2 weeks for Andor re-review with Kate. Me first mate her. This is going to
The
be
world's
fun.
famous Kate
World
Gaming.
famous Kate
We'll
Gaming.
see how that goes.
All right. So on behalf of myself, Kate and Thane, y'all have a great rest of your night, and we will talk to you later. May the force be with you.